Hello and welcome to the Feral Future Podcast. I'm Erik.
Hi, I'm Keri Joy.
We wanted to welcome you on our journey as we become more feral beings, reclaim our wildness, and hope that you join us along the way.
Yes, and to have a lot more fun.
Definitely.
That's why we're here,
Why else be here?
right?
Right. So the idea of feral is the domesticated being returning to the wild. And we feel that wildness is one of those innate birthrights that we all come here with the ability to have. And through various methods, it's taken away from us. We get pulled into all kinds of different things. And as you realize and feel that calling, you have to start taking the steps to reclaim that wildness yourself. We've
Absolutely.
done a lot of things ourselves. We have some ways to go, and we wanted to share some of our journeys with you in hopes that you join us and maybe are inspired to become more wild and more feral yourself.
Absolutely. And I have to say, for me, when Erik introduced me to this whole concept of the feral human, it was one of the sexiest things I had ever heard. I feel like when he got this whole download one night and shared it with me, and it was like when I first fell in love with you.
Mm-hmm.
And our whole journey has been about really what it means to be feral in our own way, like our own terms. And even our home is like Feralheim, and it's explain what feral home is, or Feralheim,
It's
excuse
just
me.
in the Nordic languages, Heim means home. So, Feralheim,
Feralheim,
it's a nice way to name your home, something
yes,
other than just home.
yes. Everything we do is to be more feral. I mean, that's our language. It's what we eat. It's what we talk about. It's how it's all of our beliefs. It's kind of what we do on the daily, and we want to share what we've learned. It's been quite challenging in a lot of ways. I feel it's like when you're kind of pioneering something, it's never that easy. And even our love story, wasn't easy. But
I
it
don't know what
definitely.
you're talking about. It was nothing's been easier than courting today.
But becoming feral is really claiming back what's innately yours and our birthright to live extraordinary lives and to have extraordinary relationships and love um, and really it's like that story of remembering and kind of that's what this is about, and it's been a long time in the making, wouldn't you say?
Definitely, yes. Yeah, I originally came up with the idea of feral about 10 years ago or so, 2015 or so, I think, is when it really kind of clicked for me. And through various ways, have been kind of chasing that goal. And then when Carrie and I met, she was already herself chasing down that goal. So it was interesting that we were when we met and how we met, and a lot of the synchronicities that were there, kind of lined us up to build this together. The idea of feral was not a word that she had used, but it certainly resonated.
Hmm.
And that story of telling her about it really comes from, of all things, the wild boar, or the idea of a feral pig. These A pig, you think of like the pink pig that's on Charlotte's Web or Babe or one of those kind of stories, and it's living on the farm and all of its needs are being taken care of, and it's in this sort of soft and you know not considered anything all that serious, although pigs are nothing to mess with, but the story is what it is. But if that animal gets out, all of a sudden it has to hunt for its own food and it has to fend for itself, and it activates a massive change in its looks, its appearance, and also um, it's the way it reacts with the world. So it grows tusks and fur and turns into a nasty son of a gun. And people have a lot of issues with feral hogs. In fact, nearly every county in the United States has a feral hog issue, and they're one of the only animals that you're allowed to hunt for their meat openly and sell it. Most animals you can't sell the meat if you hunt it. So it's one of those things where it's not necessarily the prettiest animal or the nicest animal, but that transformation that it goes through to become what it is really what we're talking about,
Right.
and what we feel aligned with, and sort of what would happen to us if we went from that state. And there's this concept of, it's called neoteny, and it basically is kind of keeping us in sort of like a childlike state and not letting that full maturity happen. And so you see that in pigs, you see that in farm animals, you see that in the way our dogs and cats, we take their reproductive organs out early. They never go through like a full maturity. They almost stay in a state of kitten or puppy like quality throughout their whole life. And when you are around an animal that doesn't have that done to them, how much different they are, what their energy feels like, the maturity and kind of wisdom that they can tap into when they've gone through that full process. So, we feel like us as humans have also, in a lot of ways, been kept in a much more infantile state where we're not able to go out and really express the full human experience and see what all the things are like. And that's actually ramping up more so than scaling back. So it's an opportunity that we feel um, it's time to kind of take the left path versus the right path and go our own way and
Yeah.
become feral humans and decide that we're going to lead the life we want to live in the wild way. And if we need to go back into the other way, we can. But it's on our terms. It's not put
Absolutely.
upon us. And we use the system for our benefit as opposed to the system benefiting from us.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, it's not changing something that's already going on or broken. We just want to do our own thing and feel really good while we're doing it, and hopefully, bring as many people on board with us, not in a follow type of way, but in a like, no, life is meant to be extraordinary type of way, and let's do this. Let's
Right.
try different things, and let's think outside of the box. And
Yeah, it's not something that we can build ourselves. We need people to build it with us, and we're really looking to connect with people that are like-minded, that feel the things that we feel, and have seen the benefits of making these lifestyle changes, and yeah, taking life by the horns, so to speak, and living the life that you want to live instead of living the life that's been presented to you.
absolutely. Yeah, and I think the biggest thing that we can do is, you know, um, it's like the discovery of oneself. I mean, that's really what life is about, and it's like self mastery. And the more you understand you and what makes you tick and how unique you are, and sharing your gifts into the world, that's what we need now more than ever. We need every single human being standing in their light, standing in their fullest potential, being their complete unique self. And what we learned as children was the complete opposite. It
Mm.
was like, be like Harry, Jill, this
Yeah.
person and that
Be a doctor,
person.
be a lawyer, be a accountant. It's like
Yeah.
I don't
And
want to
everyone
be
else is doing this, and
yeah, I don't
that's
want to be a thing. I want to be me.
right,
And I might
exactly.
do some accounting and I might do some lawyering, but
Right.
ultimately I'm a woodworking potato farmer that likes to make leather shoes.
Yeah.
And if
Yeah.
that's what you want to do, then that's amazing. And do that to your best.
Absolutely. And so Feral Future is kind of a whole reimagining of how the world can be, the world that we want to live in. We're going to be introducing you today about food and kind of how we started with food, and that's really something that Erik can speak to so incredibly and so beautifully and intelligently. But it's also like a full on lifestyle overhaul. It's how we think about finances and how we think about freedom and how we look at clothing and frequency and textiles and community. It's
Buildings that we live in,
everything.
the music and
Buildings.
entertainment that we take in, all of it.
Absolutely. So it's a complete reimagining, and we feel all of it's completely possible. If you can imagine it, you can kind of build it into creation. And we are doing that, starting with food. It's kind of our entryway. It was like our gateway into making these positive changes.
Yeah. So we are launching our business with Feral Foods. And this was really inspired by a move from us from the LA area up into the Santa Ynez Valley, just inland from Santa Barbara. It's the wine country. It's a
Also
beautiful
known as
place,
God's country.
God's country, right? One of the most beautiful places that we've ever experienced. The seasons
Absolutely.
and the animals and just the cycle of life that we experience and the closeness to nature that we have here has really changed us for the best. And one of the things that really kicked it off was the food that was here. The idea that we can get the freshest, localist, um, seasonal, organic food that is available anywhere. Literally, the food that we're buying was picked the morning of by people that are doing what they're doing because they love it. not just because they're looking to make a profit. It's their family business, and they're beloved by the community. There's even the aspect of trust, in that the farm stands are not manned. There's nobody there, and it's an honor system where you have a cash box or you pay with Venmo, and the city, the people in the town just come and go and take what they need and leave and pay, and it works. And we really saw how that wouldn't have worked where we used to live. Keri's originally from New York and then moved to LA, and I was born and raised in the LA area my whole life. And regardless of how good the people were, there was still that trust issue where you have to lock your doors at night and you're worried about stuff getting stolen. And here it's almost not even on our radar. So the daily routine would basically be stop at the farm stand at the farmer's market on the way to the store as we're going through our day and figuring out what we want to eat. And from that really became the inspiration to start Feral Foods. I had thought about this also again about 10 years ago when I was living in LA, and it aligned around the same time as having kids with my ex-wife, and I wanted to raise my kids to be as healthy as possible, and I knew how important food was, especially from birth. The opportunity to have really good food throughout their life cycle would really help to prevent things like allergies and any number of conditions that kids get based on just not eating well. So I really dove into the idea of really high quality food and ingredients, and getting into things, obviously organic and fresh and farmers markets and local, but then getting into alternative types of meats, things that we don't think of as normal, things that were more wild. And the concept that really brings it home to me is you are what you eat. And the idea that food is just this fuel that has carbs, proteins, fats, nutrients, vitamins, minerals, um, and red meat is red meat, and carrots are carrots, and whatever. It really became clear to me that that was not the case, and there was sort of like an energy or a vitality to food that was actually more important than those individualistic, broken out components ever could be. And so, the idea of, let's say, a strawberry that's grown on a massive farm by a corporation, sprayed with all kinds of chemicals. The soil is depleted because they've just grown the same thing year after year and just putting some fertilizers on it. Picked well before it's ripe, so it can be shipped. Some sort of gas is applied to it to sort of help the ripening process, and then it ends up sitting under fluorescent lights in a grocery store until I buy it and take it home and eat it. And if you compare that to where we're living now, where I drive by this farm and I see the family that owns the farm tending to it, and they're cycling their crops and they're letting it sit for some time, and minimal spraying, minimal anything, as little as they can do to make it as optimal as possible, and then picking it at the peak of ripeness, and then I'm taking it home within a day or two and eating it of it being picked. And while technically they're both strawberries, and technically they might even have the same nutrient profile, what my body is getting from that strawberry versus the one from the grocery store is a completely different experience. And so the idea of that, and bringing that type of quality in food, not just in each ingredient, but also in how it's prepared, how it's packaged, how it's distributed. I think all of that comes together to sort of fuel a human or a person or a soul in a very different way than just um, buying something at a restaurant, or buying some jar of soup at a store. It's a very different thing.
Mm-hmm.
And I think food is one of the most intimate relationships that we have with our environment, because the food that we eat literally is turned into the tissues of our body. Um, so if you're going to be carrying this energy and this information that comes from our food into your body, and that's how you're going to experience the world, it's really important to have the best possible coming in, so that you can then turn that into the best possible experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And for sure, I mean, right now more than ever, I mean, it's our, food is our medicine. Food is the way that we take care of ourselves. Food is the way that we nurture, and the food is really what gives us, like you said, like the vitality that we need. If we don't have the right type of food, we're not going to have the true health that we're seeking, and that's really like our strongest defense in terms of resiliency and in terms of adaptability and being able to kind of move with all the change that everyone is experiencing in 2025. So we really felt like the way Erik looks at food, like it's his love language. I mean, that's how he communicates to me often, is in how he cooks for me. There's so much love and tenderness and medicinal use and herbs and flavor, and he cooks with bone broth and is super thoughtful about all the ingredients that he chooses, and everything has a story and everything has a history. And there's a you're not about excess, you're just about it's kind of a simplistic way of looking at things, but very thought out, and very much what the body needs to really thrive. I feel so nourished. I'm very well taken care of in terms of how well I eat. I mean, that's definitely one of the biggest gifts you've given me, to have beautiful, sometimes 3 times a day, gorgeous, collagen-rich, bone broth infused meats and braised and all these, just the vitality from the vegetables. So I feel so blessed, and this whole idea of this ancestral movement really was something really big to you as well. Kind of how our ancestors ate.
Mm.
Because it's not about just your typical chicken, pork, and beef, which is kind of what we've grown up with and accustomed. You've really introduced me to this whole ancestral side, and when we see people have the opportunity to eat your food, I mean, the things that I witness is nothing short of remarkable, and the awakening that starts to happen when people actually eat real food. I mean, I've met some of Erik's friends who haven't even eaten meat in years for multitudes of reasons, and start to eat his food, and you can just see this whole awakening that starts to happen, this like primal nourishment. Like, it's like extraordinary to see. I find it extraordinary in men who seem to eat the tip. They're less fussy. You just kind of eat what's given to you. And to see men really eat food that starts to awaken them, and these that you talk about the epigenetics of it, and
Mhm.
these like this primal life force starts to happen. It's nothing short of extraordinary, and that's also one of the reasons we wanted to launch with food, to get people to start. It's like you start feeling good. Well, now what else are you going to start doing with it? How else are you going to start thinking? Then you start thinking about the other ways you take care of yourself, the other ways that we've been indoctrinated into a system that tells us how to do something. And then it's like, well, why do we have to do it this way? And so, one, I feel so blessed to be like your, what would you say in terms of how I eat? Like, am I your, I get to sample all of the different things that
Well, you're
you.
certainly a focus group. Yeah, you certainly have been my top critic, not in the sense of looking for what's wrong, but
Right,
helping me to fine tune everything and a compass to kind of make sure that I'm on the right track
right.
with where I'm thinking, what I'm going for, taste, textures, spice levels, all those sorts of things.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. I wanted to say a little bit more about the epigenetic piece and the ancestral awakening concept. If you think about food and food is information, it's everything has DNA and this genetic profile, and genes are really just about protein synthesis. Like it's input in, yeah. There's something comes in and there's a result that comes out of it. It's a pretty simple system, but it's complex in that there's just so much of it. And so much of the food that we eat today is genetically the same. Most of the greens in the supermarket are forms of cabbage, whether it's cabbage, kale, broccoli, bok choy, Brussels sprouts. They're all cabbage, and they probably have within a couple percentage points, if even 1% difference in their genetic profile. So you can think you're eating this variety of food, but it's really this one note singular tone, kind of like listening to the same song over and over and over again. Where after a while you almost like don't even get anything from it; it just becomes this sort of background drone. So it's really important to eat a variety of foods, not just from the names of the food and the way they look, but also from their genetic profile. And not only that, but we like to really tie into things that, going back into the you are what you eat and the vitality, kind of the characteristics of food that of the if you're going to be eating something, like what characteristics does it have, or are they going to be imparted into you? So one of my favorite ingredients is the dandelion. It's a amazingly, it grows wild everywhere. I mean, a, a parking lot with
Mhm.
a crack in it, a seed will land in there and maybe get a day of rain and some fog, and it grows, this robust plant that then spreads its seed across the land. And every suburbanite with a lawn has sprayed who knows how many chemicals trying to get rid of dandelions, and they always come back. So the idea that this plant that has so many medicinal properties, that just grows with so much vigor and intensity and nothing can stop it, those are the kind of characteristics that I want to have in myself, versus something that needs to be propped up and have this perfect watering and light cycle and have to put down straw so that it doesn't rot. And it's like, that's just this propped up thing. Like, it needs so much just to survive, to make
Mhm.
it to market, um, that it's really not living. It's basically being cultivated, right? And I want something that's living, that's out there doing it on its own, that doesn't need any help. Fennel is another one of those
Mhm.
ingredients that I really like to use in a lot of my food. Again, amazing taste, amazing nutrient profile, great textures. The seeds are great, the fronds are great, the bulbs are great. We drive along in California and we see them all over the place.
Yeah.
They're everywhere, and they're just growing wild, as tall as a
Mhm.
man. And again, same thing. They have no help, no support. They're on the side of a freeway, and here they are, completely thriving.
Yeah.
So the idea of those characteristics, taking those on, but also this genetic diversity and this input coming in. If you've been living in a very domesticated lifestyle where you're just eating this like traditional American diet, or this sort of grocery store type diet, and you're not getting yourself access to these, and potentially for generations not getting access,
Sure.
what kind of genetic activations are not happening for you? So when we start eating things that haven't been on our menus for a long time, things like elk, things like venison, things like wild boar, dandelion, fennel, all of these ingredients that I like to use, you're bringing in different information. You're changing the interaction with your environment and unlocking um, information and activations and processes that aren't otherwise happening. And that's sort of that awakening. So there's the vitality component, this food that just grows without any help at all. It's robust, it's strong, it's vitality, it's vigorous, and also the actual nuts and bolts data information that's coming in, that's activating new pathways and processes and protein synthesis, healing. There's so many aspects to it that I don't think it's really even understood. I don't know if there's even a science that studies that, but to me, I don't really even think I need that, because it just makes so much sense on a sort of soul level that I
Mhm.
just know it to be true.
Absolutely. I know. I know, and it's so beautiful, and I'm so honored to be able to experience it with you and to kind of watch these creations that you have, and the downloads that you get and what you want to make next and what you want to put out and have people experience is so
Yeah.
beautiful and nurturing for me. And I'm just curious because we talk about food a lot. And before we move into like more about Feral Future a little bit and your download, is there anything else that we feel like we need to share now about the food component that would be useful?
Well, with the launch of our company, we have a few ingredients, or ingredients recipes that we're offering. So we make elk chili, wild boar pasta, and turkey wild rice soup, and a venison Mexi meat. And the idea between all of these, that instead of using the chicken, beef, and pork that we would typically use, we're using elk, venison, wild boar, and turkey. And just the idea of, we kind of stopped eating chicken based on the you are what you eat idea,
Hmm.
and the vitality and the characteristics. Like, the chicken is not necessarily appreciated for any of its qualities. In fact, to call someone chicken is actually an insult. It indicates they're scared, they're sketchy, they're unsure. They're none of those are characteristics that I particularly want to embody. Now, granted, chicken from a local farm that's been lived a great life, that's different than supermarket chicken, obviously. But just the idea that the chicken has become so domesticated and so um, bred into this large breast and low fat type of um, creature, that it doesn't even resemble closely what its original wild counterparts did. Not to say that turkeys and elk and venison that are available for market aren't, but they're far less domesticated
Mhm.
than something like the chicken or the cow. And even with cows, there's a lot of cloning going on. So
Right.
it could be possible that you've been eating the same cow for the last 5 years, and talk about that one note mundane
Exactly.
information source. So those are the 4 launch recipes that we've made. They're all dairy free. We
We
use
love dairy.
we love it, but we're understand the limitations of it. So, and we use as many local, seasonal, fresh ingredients as we can. So the local, some of the things I use in all of my food is fennel, leeks, um, dandelion, and spinach. And we
Mhm.
have a really, really great year-round supply of most of those ingredients here in town. So it's really nice to be able to feature all of those. What we don't source locally, we do a lot of work to source from the best that we have
Yeah.
available. So we work with Force of Nature Meats for our elk, venison, and wild boar, and we work with some local suppliers for our turkey. And then our olive oil comes from a great local company called Global Gardens. They have
Yeah. I love them.
their own estate here in the Santa Ynez Valley, and they grow their own olives and are harvested. So we like to use and feature their product. And we also partner with Demetria Estate Winery, and I like to use their wines in the food. We love Demetria as a place to just go. It's one of the best wineries that we feel for ambiance and just sort of the overall experience. It's like this Tuscan villa, a mile and a half into the vineyards, and no cell phone reception, and you really just feel the connection to the land and sort of the lightness of being away from overall civilization. And they do what's called biodynamic practices, which is kind of like beyond organic. So they're
It's with
really,
the moon cycles, which we
yes,
love.
moon cycle. They're all about really optimizing the soils, and they're having animals graze to help um, um, put the nutrients back into the soil. Really, really a bunch of great stuff. So, like I said, we like to feature as many local things as we can. And then we also have pantry ingredients, and one of Keri Joy's favorites that we created out of necessity were our grass-fed gelatin-made maple syrup sweetened mallows, marshmallows.
Yes, absolutely. So if you order them, our company's actually like really just launching. Everything's just launching, and our site will be ready. So this is very exciting and perfect timing. But if you order our grass-fed marshmallows, you can enjoy them in your coffee, which is again something that I feel so lucky for because I have been on the search for yummy organic grass-fed marshmallows for years, and I couldn't find the right one that didn't have chemicals still in it, even if it was organic. And so I one day came home and I said, Erik, I'm going to make my own organic grass fed marshmallows. And I tried a batch and he basically took over. And next thing you know, we have coffee shops around town who are carrying our marshmallows. And again, I feel like it was just this like gorgeous, um, little like symbolism of your love towards me
Mm.
that I just so appreciate because you knew how much I love them, and not they're good for you. They're like a beauty and health food, and who doesn't love something yummy in their coffee? I mean, since for years we've both been like major coffee
Hmm.
drinkers, and we do it as, we try and have the cleanest, my what is it, myotoxins. We're very cautious about that, and we do the grass-fed butters and collagen, all that yummy stuff, just to make it as nutritious and protein rich and healthy for you as possible. And then to add this like little labor of love is so magnificent, and it feels such like such a special ritual. And now we're getting to share it with like pretty much the whole country, and I can't believe it's
Yeah,
actually happening. So I'm very excited about those. We both are.
yeah, we love the mallows. It's become definitely sort of our one of our top items,
Yeah.
and we feel like to turn. I mean, coffee is such a ritual for so many of us anyway, and to sort of add that extra little bit into it that has such beneficial components with the gelatin and the collagen and what it does for bones, skin, hair, nail, and gut health.
Hmm.
It's really just amazing. And then lightly sweetened with a little bit of maple syrup, which has great antioxidants. It's one of those sugars that any kind of inflammation that might come from eating sugar is actually offset
Right.
by all the great qualities that it has. So to be able to put something together like that, that makes the morning cup of coffee so enjoyable, and really just elevates. And even for kids as a great snack, we
Sure.
do quite a few events where we pass them out, and the kids absolutely love them, and the parents feel good that they can give their kids something fun that the kid
Right.
likes without knowing that they're going to be bouncing off the walls and
Exactly.
potentially, having
Exactly.
some negative side effects.
Yeah.
So
They also have glycine in them, which I find to be incredible for sleep. And even if you take it in the morning, it still
mhm.
supports the sleep health in the evening. So that's beneficial as well for
Yeah,
kids as well.
definitely.
Yeah.
So
Um,
some of our other pantry ingredients, we have a couple herbs and spice blends. One is my feral herb blend, which is sort of the signature herbs that I use in most of my dishes. So it's oregano, thyme, rosemary, marjoram, and basil. Works well on pretty much everything: meats, vegetables, whatever. I also just came up with a sort of a fennel and roasted pepper rub that works really great on. We use it on our steaks. We have a lot of steak here, even in the morning for breakfast. So we like to get that early morning protein in, and it's a great rub for that. It works well. It kind of was intended originally as a poultry seasoning, and it's similar to what I use on the turkey in the turkey wild rice soup. But it's really turned into sort of a meat rub that has that really great fennel flavor, which has a lot of digestive qualities and antioxidants. And yeah, even if you don't grill it, the roasted red pepper that's in it kind of gives that smoky quality
mm,
that kind of harkens to a grilled flavor. And then the other ingredient, the other thing that we're launching with is our feral tea blend.
mhm,
And this is something that I started developing this during COVID, actually, during the pandemic, and just as having something else to drink that wasn't just, I drink a lot of green tea and coffee and water, and I was already stopped drinking any kind of sodas and things like that. I was juicing at the time as well, so I was getting a lot of ingredients there. But at the end of the day, you just want something to sip on. And so I came up with this ingredient list of moringa, dandelion, stinging nettle, lemon balm, and ginger. And it works well hot or cold. And we've really been enjoying it lately. Cold brewed in like a half-gallon mason jar with a whole lemon squeezed in with the peel, so that it sort of soaks up all the lemon oils and flavor. And yeah, we like to sip on that. I usually do a cold brew overnight in the fridge, and then it's ready in the morning, and we kind of sip on that all day. And we brew it twice. And yeah, that's been one of our sort of hacks for one, just having something that tastes great. You used to like getting a lot of Arnold Palmers, but weren't
mhm.
didn't want as much caffeine, so it's sort
Right.
of an Arnold Palmer alternative.
Right.
But it's kind of like a sports drink in a lot of ways, with all the vitamins and minerals and
Mhm.
electrolytes. Doesn't have any sugar in it, of course, but all of the other things that you need to really nourish the body and kind of fill up the cells and give everything that real true hydration that it needs. It goes a long way.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're calling it our feral pantry items. And what I love about what we're doing with it is it's just things that we've been doing and using and loving and wanted to share them. There's nothing really fancy about any of it. The herb blend is something that if you don't know how to cook and you start using those herbs, you now have created this like medicinal environment for yourself. If you don't want to do the whole veggies, you have it all in there. And same thing with the tea blend. It's gets you have everything you need for the day to feel to have your antioxidants, your vitamins and minerals. I like to say it's for the person who wants to be healthy but who doesn't want to spend their time like dealing with like supplements and what they need to do. You just get it all. And it's like energizing and very nutritious and gives you like, this nice kind of calm, I find with a lemon balm, it's a nice type of, um, it's a nice clarity without any like, afternoon
Mm-hmm.
jitters or anything like that. And you feel refreshed and you feel fueled and you feel obviously super hydrated. So yeah, I didn't even know we were going to start talking about that, but that's fun. Um, but yeah, so we're super excited about all of that stuff that's happening, and everything we'll do probably in the pantries will continue to be things that we just love that are quite simple. You're super unfussy and very uncomplicated. We like really good things, and we obviously love the medicinal and healing value of them, and you know taking something and just making it a little bit better. So our pantry items will kind of continue to be in that philosophy, and then we have some additional ones that we'll encourage you to buy and have in your home, and just things to kind of support, this again, this initial food component of the stuff that we're talking about. Erik's initial download about our whole feral future is one of the most extraordinary things I've ever heard. And I just feel so honored to like be able to help you with all the stuff that's kind of in your brain kind of carry out this mission, because it really is a mission and for humanity,
Hmm.
to kind of live in the way that we feel in our soul we're meant to live, while we're here in these bodies, and how we can support others and inspire others to find that like call back home. It's really just a call back home. It's a remembering of how it used to be, how it's always should have been, and it's never too late to kind of start that journey. And it doesn't need to be complicated. It doesn't need to be expensive. There's so much that's fueled by nature. It's so much of that's fueled by just listening to your own body and your innate wisdom and getting quiet. And a big part of it for us now is kind of this less is more approach. It's not listening to so much about what's out there and following the chaos or the news or anything like that. It's less is more. It's, kind of getting quiet, sitting still, tuning in, listening to your body. It's always had the wisdom. We've just done so many things to really tune that voice out. And I don't know if you want to share a little bit more, Erik, about, I mean, we're going to continue to talk about all this stuff throughout this whole excursion together, but is there anything else within Feral Future that you feel is important to share now?
Well, yeah, just the idea of feral future. I mean, we talked about feral foods as the food component, but yeah, with the idea of the future being feral, humanity survives through leaving the systems and leaving the sort of cage or the zoo or the farm that society has built for us, and that's really where things are going to really change for the better, and not for the worse. So the idea of like the future being feral and the things that we can do to support the rewilding of humanity in this positive way that supports all. That's not about profit. It's not about greed, anything like that. The idea that there is so much more to go around than we're led to believe. Um, the idea of money and what we think of money and how it's used, for example. I feel like all of the dollars, yen, rupees, you name the currency, all of it combined is like a fraction of the amount of true wealth that's out there in the world, just waiting to be uh, realized in one way or another. And I think health is probably the number one thing that can think about, and that's again why food is such a critical component. But one of the other components is feral finance and the idea of reconsidering the way money is used and invested, and things like shared equity and investing. I think Kickstarter is kind of those sorts of crowdfunding systems are kind of a glimpse into what the future could be like, from a financial perspective, and how to make really great projects grow when there isn't sort of the infrastructure or the large scale funding that's needed. And if people had the right mindset, it would be less about a shiny new gadget or um, whatever the thing is. A lot of it is cool stuff, but it's not necessarily the kind of things that moves humanity forward. And as more people wake up to these ideas, this sort of distributed venture capital idea really starts to make a lot of sense, and investing in ideas and people that we all can grow from. So one of the ways that would work is through things like equity, where if you start a company and you bring people in that are totally in alignment with you, the idea is they grow as the company grows. Things like percentage of profit. If you as a company grows, the motivation to work hard would be dramatically different if you are on I don't want to say commission based, but sort of like, let's say payroll is 1% of profit. Um, so if you have a $1 million company, um, the amount that there is to go around is very different than if you're a $100 million company. Like the amount of money that goes to payroll is fixed. And just as an exercise of enthusiasm and you know um, intuitiveness and innovation and just that real drive to move things forward, knowing that like, hey, if we double our sales, I double my income. I just think those kind of ideas. Obviously, this is a very simplified version of it, but as the owner of a company, I don't want a yacht unless my janitor can have a yacht too, sort of a thing. Like I want everybody to be able to thrive and not have this sense of I'm stuck at this low level and I'm only ever going to make this much money. I think that's just old ways of thinking that really hold companies back, because it creates a job market as opposed to a real cohesive unit that wants to really turn something special into the ultimate version of itself. So that's one of the ideas. There's quite a few others, but there's feral finance. There's also feral freedom, which has a lot to do with the legal aspect of um, sort of how we are brought into this world. Um, there's a lot of things, Social Security and the way taxes work, and there's remedies to all of those things and ways to operate within those systems that we're just sort of now figuring out. They were built with these complexities in mind, and it's taken really passionate people a long time, generations of passed down wisdom and knowledge that is only just now starting to make people realize, one, the situation that we're in, and two, the realization that, oh, there's actually a way out of this. And we've taken a lot of these steps ourselves in our own lives and have helped other people, and it's something that we want to understand better and continue to work and grow on, these ways to really reclaim your sovereignty. And really, that's all there is to it. It's not so much about doing anything other than saying, I'm free because I say I am. You literally can write a letter to the Secretary of State of the United States claiming your sovereignty, and they just say, okay, enjoy. And it's that easy. It's not that easy, but it is as simple as saying, I am because I say I am. And I think that's one of the most spiritual things that I've experienced recently, is going through that process and just seeing something as powerful as the United States government, um, just acknowledging and accepting and making no issues whatsoever. So that tells me that, um, basically there's no fences or gates keeping us in the system that we're in. It's all our own beliefs, and it everything that you want is available to you. All you have to do is go out and get it, and nobody's going to stop you. And if you think they're going to stop you, it's a limitation that you're actually placing on yourself, because it's not based on true natural law. It's based on a system that you've agreed to participate in. And once you kind of overcome that understanding, everything really opens up, and you sort of, um, get the sense of what's truly available to you.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, there's no one who believes in this more than me.
Right.
I believe in you and everything that we want to do together, and I'm so excited about all of it. A huge part of it is also believing you're worthy of it all, and all the stuff that we're talking about and just beginning to talk about is also, we've done a lot of deep work to get to a place where we feel worthy to make these claims that are different than the things that we've been told. And we've had to, in order to have true wealth, you have to have a nervous system that can hold true wealth. There is so much abundance in this world. Even when we moved to this area, we would see the abundance in nature, and the amount, like you said, we drive around and we see wild fennel
There's food
growing. There's
everywhere.
food everywhere. There's so many things we want to do. There's so much opportunity. And we've been told to believe that there's not. We've been told to believe we're not worthy of being like the people who have a ton of money. And a huge part of taking back your sovereignty is doing the things and the healing and clearing the beliefs and the blocks and the old stories and trauma to that you are worthy to have this. We're all worthy to have this.
Not only worthy, but that's why you're here.
And that's
It's the
why we're
purpose of
here.
being here. Yeah, it's been
Absolutely.
taken. The
Yeah.
idea that you can have it has actually been taken. So that's
Right.
the biggest lie of all, is that
Yes.
for some reason you can't
Yes.
become the fullest version of yourself.
Exactly. One of the most beautiful things I've heard was the purpose of, now I'm not going to say it properly, but the purpose of life is to be ecstatic. And I feel like it's kind of my mojo, and between us, of why we kind of get up in the morning, is to live this ecstatic existence, and that we can create some type of heaven on earth while we're here. And that is what we strive for individually, and then together as a couple, and support each other in our own unique desires and ways of going about and obtaining it. And then how we are together, and how together we are so powerful, you and I, and what we're trying to do. And we're just so excited to be in this place in our lives where we can share it and live it and breathe it, and do just so many fun, exciting things with it all. And we're really excited.
Definitely, and we're excited to have you join us. So
Yes.
keep close. Follow us on our social media.
Yes.
Pay attention. Check out our new website.
Yes.
We'd love if you would try some of our food, and we
Yes.
hope to see all of you with us
Yes.
in our feral future.
And as we're going to close out, the future is feral.
The future is feral.
Yes.
Yes.
We love that.
All right.
Okay. Thank you.